to our library, our membership library. Okie dokie. All right, here we go. So fat burning meals that require little to no prep at all. And again, the whole idea, hi, Catherine, the whole idea with this theme for the month of February is to help you with your consistency so that you can continue to consistently apply the macros for menopause method, the strategies that I'm teaching you inside the program, even when you're super busy, or maybe you just don't have the motivation, whatever it may be. Maybe you just don't like to cook, or you're away like on a hockey trip or a ski trip all weekend, whatever it may be. There are going to be times in your life where you don't have time to prep. And what I want you to do is I want you to come back to this video and use these strategies instead of ordering the takeout or grabbing the frozen pizza or whatever it may be, or, just the bag of chips and the dip, right? So that's what this is all about. So I want to start by just quickly diving into mindset, because I think that is super key here. We want to remember that when it comes to sustainable weight loss and when it comes to reaching our goals, it's so important. We need to ditch the perfectionism. We need to ditch that all or nothing mentality that if you cannot create the perfect meal with the perfect ingredients, then you should just go get the pizza, right? We want to eliminate that. And so just remember this concept of better over perfect. Always, always, always. You don't have to have the perfect meal. You can have a better meal, right? All of your choices exist on a continuum. There's a lot going on between all or nothing. Okay, so where are you at in the continuum? Don't worry about the details. Some of the stuff that I'm going to show you today, you might be like, okay, but Haley, that is an anti-inflammatory, or that's an inflammatory fat, or you might say, but Haley, that's like, that's in like a plastic bag or whatever it may be. It's not perfection. Don't sweat the details. Think about the big rocks. So the big rocks, which we're going to review: protein, veggies, healthy fats, right? Getting our macros. And just ask yourself, what does good enough look like? Because ultimately, when I show you these meals, this is what it's all about. It's about doing good enough when life gets in the way. And as you know, I'm a really firm believer that when it comes to sustainable weight loss, what we need to do is we need to learn how to do our best within the context of real life, holidays, birthdays, special occasions, deadlines, kids' hockey tournaments, etc. Because if you're waiting for the perfect time to lose weight, you're going to be waiting for a long time. Okay, so just keep that in mind. And then just as another quick reminder, and again, depending on where you're at in the program, you may or may not have learned all of this yet. Don't worry about it. But ultimately, when it comes to putting together these sort of like meals, we're going to call them like emergency meals, right? Emergency meals that require little to no prep. We still want to keep our two formulas in mind. Okay. So our low carb formula, right? Our low carb, which is what we do most of the time, is still going to be our palm of protein. We want 1 or 2, ideally 2/5 of vegetables. And then we want some form of healthy fat, right? That we're going to be using to cook with. And then when we're cycling our carbs and we're bumping them up throughout the week, again, you may not be there in the program yet. Don't worry, this will make more sense when you get there. But our smart carb formula is the exact same thing, except for we're adding in high fiber whole food carbs on top of our protein, our veggies, and our healthy fats. Okay. And you're going to have to forgive me. I think I'm starting a cold, so I've got a bit of a runny nose. And so I'm going to have to stop and blow my nose every once in a while. Okay, so just a recap there on those formulas. So let's talk about how we're going to build these minimal prep meals. So there's kind of like some building blocks, okay? One thing that can be really helpful here is to buy either like pre-cooked protein or like ready to go protein. Okay, so some ideas here would be like rotisserie chicken, salt and pepper wings, ribs or wings. I say salt and pepper specifically because I don't really want you to be buying the ones that have all of the barbecue sauce on them, because they are very high in sugar. They're made with fructose, which is probably the worst sugar you can potentially consume. So ideally, we're going for the salt and pepper ones. Hi, Megan. So that would be an idea. Ham, right? Like just a cooked ham that you can do things with very quickly. Sausage, you can get pre-cooked sausage, but even if you just buy like an Italian sausage or a turkey sausage or chorizo sausage, any kind of sausage, right? There's nothing to do except for cook it. Super easy. Meatballs, you can now get frozen meatballs. You can buy beautiful grass-fed ones if you want to. Just regular ones. You're looking for meatballs they're basically cooked and they're so easy to prep. And I'll give you some ideas. Any kind of marinated meat, right? Because again, I think what sometimes stops us in our tracks is the thought of all the steps that have to go into it. So we're trying to eliminate steps here. So if you can find marinated meat, so I put down like a spatchcock chicken. I don't know if you know what that is, but it's like the chicken that's been like cut in half, and a lot of grocery stores sell them now, and they're marinated. You literally just have to shove them in the oven and turn the oven on. Like it's that easy. Okay. So pre-cooked or ready to go protein, you need some of that. The next thing that you can do, and this, you don't have to do this every single week, but again, if there are weeks when you're super busy, pre-chopped veggies. I don't know where, obviously we all have different grocery stores, but in my local grocery store, depending on which one I go to, for those of you that are locals, Sobeys, okay, they have pre-chopped veggies ready to go. Like you can get different packs, right? Where maybe it's like asparagus and literally all you have to do is shove it in the oven, or they have like different chopped up ones or whatever it is, like mixes. You can also get bags now of like the florets of broccoli or florets of cauliflower, or you can get a mix of them. Sliced mushrooms, if you cannot even bear the thought of slicing them yourself, which is totally okay. I get that. A bagged salad, again, better over perfect. Cooked beets, which I have in my fridge this week, right? These are all examples. So I want you, when you're shopping, I want you to start looking for shortcuts, right? And it doesn't mean that you have to buy them every week, once again, but start to just think about how you could simplify your meal prep. Like, what are some little shortcuts? Yes, you are going to pay more money if they chop your broccoli for you. However, and I'm going to put this at the end as well, paying for pre-chopped or pre-prepared food is still going to be a lot cheaper than takeout, than skip the dishes or whatever the other ones are. Okay. Frozen veggies. Now, I'm not a huge fan of frozen veggies, not because I think that they are necessarily less nutrient dense, but I think they're kind of gross for the most part. They're mushy, but there are certain staples that I do keep in my kitchen. There's not much left in this, but I do always have frozen peas in my freezer, which they're kind of like a gray area carb in the sense that they're not super low, but they're also not super high. Again, don't sweat the details. Peas would work. Edamame, I like having edamame. Whoops, my video froze again. Let's just start that back up. I like having frozen edamame in my freezer. These ones here, I don't actually mind. They're just, they're Brussels sprouts in butter. That's all they are. And again, ideally, you're not using your microwave, but better over perfect. What does good enough look like? Well, maybe it's some buttered Brussels sprouts. And then, of course, I always have these boxes of salads in my fridge. I'll usually buy like 2 of these a week, and I'll usually do like I like to do like blends. This is a spring mix, but they also have like a rose mix, which has like these really pretty like pink lettuce leaves in. I don't know. I really like it. But I always have these on hand because nothing is easier than whipping together a quick salad, and they don't have to be boring if you don't make them boring. Okay. Next week, by the way, our hot topic session is how to build a salad bar. Okay. So that we can make your salads a little bit more interesting, and they're not just like, the typical sort of like side salad. So we're going to do that next week. I think it's going to be super fun. But let's keep going. All right. So easy vegetable, the easy veggies, like again, your broccoli, your cauliflower, your broccolini, like any of those cruciferous vegetables, literally you can just steam them and add butter, and that could be your side. It doesn't have to be more complicated than that. And when you're steaming them, I just put them in. I'll show you. If you don't have one of these, I don't even have a fancy steamer thingy like a bamboo. I just have like one of these metal colanders, and I put like 2 inches of water. I roughly chop my vegetables. I put them in this colander. I put a lid on top. I let them sit there for 5 minutes while the water is boiling. And when it's done, I ditch the water. I add the veggies. I add some butter. Maybe if I'm fancy, a little bit of salt and lemon juice, and that is it. It does not have to be complicated. Okay. So any vegetable steamed with butter, right? Deliciousness. Any kind of another thing that I will do quite often, if I just need like a super quick side, is I will do spinach. Like I buy those big boxes of baby spinach, and literally I would just like fry them with, again, butter or maybe garlic, lemon juice and cream, like something super simple like that, just to kind of wilt it, and boom, I know I can get like a lot of vegetables and wilt them down, a lot of spinach and wilt them down, and have like a side dish in under 5 minutes. That requires pretty much no prep whatsoever. Okay. Next up is smart carbs. Okay. So we've gone through protein, we've gone through some veggies. I want to show you some smart carbs that again require little to no prep. Remember, better over perfect. If you have time to make your own carbs, do them. But these bad boys here, I always have them on hand. Sometimes because I want my daughter and my husband to have carbs because they want them and I don't feel like them, or I don't want them. So you can find these, again, I get these at any of my local grocery stores. I'm sure you can find them, but they're all of these different pouches of literally pre-cooked whole grains. So this is a white basmati. This is a whole grain basmati. This one here is brown rice. This one here is quinoa. And this one here is quinoa and black barley. And all of these, you cut a little slit and you microwave them for 1 minute, and you have your smart carbs. And smart carbs, as you know, they take more time to cook, right? Because they're root vegetables or they're whole grains, and you have to put the time in. If you don't have the time, these ones, okay, these pouches. I don't usually have this many, but I wanted to show you the different varieties. But those are great, and you can have them in your pantry so that, again, if you don't have time, but it's a day where I've scheduled you to cycle your carbs, then you've got them there ready to go. Another big favorite of mine for smart carbs, I don't know if you can see this very clearly, but these are organic black bean pasta. And it's literally just black bean. That's what it is. It's made out of black beans. But the nice thing about these is, again, it's 2 to 4 minutes to cook. You're not actually cooking them. You're warming them up, would be more accurate. Sorry. Again, a little bit of the sniffles, but this could make you a very quick smart carb side dish. Okay. That requires, again, little to no prep whatsoever. Next up is spice blends. Okay. So I'm going to show you some of my favorite ones. And I would, and I get these locally, but you can buy them. You can buy them online. But I like this brand called Spiceworks. Okay, so you can see those. I put Spice Hut on my cheat sheet. I'll change that. Spiceworks, you can actually buy these online, but if you can get spice blends where instead of getting like oregano and parsley and cumin and whatever, blah, 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 you're getting the blend. So you don't have to measure anything else. You literally just have to put it on. And I'm going to give you some ideas of how to do that shortly. But these are a must in your kitchen. I have got, this is lemon chili. It's supposed to be for a Greek salad dressing, but I'll just put it on vegetables and meat, doesn't matter. I've got some, these are like just smokehouse blends. So I've got a West Coast curry and a butcher's blend. Za'atar, if you want like a more of a Mediterranean sort of blend. I have Mexican chipotle. What else do I have? More Greek salad. This one's Thai. But if you have these blends, and I'm going to give you some templates soon as to how you can use them, super, super easy. Again, very little prep work required. Epicure is another Canadian company that does a lot of these different blends. So you might want to just stock up on them. Like they do different cuisines. Like they have like an Asian one, they have a Greek one, they have like a Malaysian one, whatever. And so you can have these blends where then literally you'll be able to throw together your meal super quick. And again, I'm going to give you those formulas very soon. Primal Palette in the US is a great blog, and they sell their own blends of various, again, just various flavors so that you don't have to do the work. You don't have to measure everything out. Okay. Super, super key. All right. The other thing that I would recommend, I have them right here when it comes to like spices and just like adding flavor to your food, is do some shortcuts. Like I do not chop ginger ever, or garlic. So I have chopped garlic, I have roasted garlic, I've got ginger, I've got lemongrass. What's this? This is Italian herb seasoning. I've got dried herbs. I don't chop basil when I don't have time. I use shortcuts. So start thinking about how many shortcuts that you can create so that when you do have to cook, like I can literally throw stuff together super, super quickly. Same thing with like dressings, dips, marinades, sauces. Ideally, I want you to make your own, of course. But again, if you're just like, I'm going to buy a pizza instead of making my own salad dressing, then buy a salad dressing. I much prefer that you do that. There are certain brands that I prefer. One of my favorites is Primal Kitchen, because they use avocado oil. Locally, that can be found at our health food store, but if you can also buy that online. So Primal Kitchen, all of their dressings and sauces and dips and everything is made with avocado oil. So like load up on them. They have some amazing ones. You could just have them in the fridge. And so when you do want to whip together a salad, or you need like a quick sauce or a quick marinade, they're there. And then of course, frozen leftovers. Okay. I always have leftovers. That is my sort of like, if I need to, I just warm up my leftovers. Okay. All right. So let's talk about just some fun, different, I like to think of them as emergency meals. And I got this idea in my 30s, like probably 10 years ago. This concept of having some like emergency meals. And if you haven't heard me say this before, I believe like part of like being consistent and part of changing your habits is about finding strategies and systems and structures that really work for you, that because we're all individual, right? So what works for me may not work for you, because I don't know what your personal preference is. I don't know how picky your kids are. Like I know nothing, right? About like, I mean, I know partially about your home life, but I don't know all of the nitty gritty. So you have to be building systems and strategies and structures to help with your consistency so that you can, hit your macros and do the strategies that I teach you inside the program as much as possible, as consistently as possible. And one thing that I like to say to women is, if you find a recipe that you like and your kids like, and it doesn't take much time, that is a strategy. You've got to put that in your toolbox. You should have a binder that's just called like strategies at work, and then just add like recipes in there that you enjoy, because a lot of it just, that's what it boils down to, is just finding recipes that you enjoy, that you can cook, that don't take much time. It really can be that simple, right? Okay, so emergency meal number one. This is something I do all the time. Now, you may not know this about me, but my husband works away. And so a lot of times it's just me and my daughter. So I am often cooking almost for one, right? And my little mini me, who's 6 years old. And so rotisserie chicken happens quite often because it's easy, right? I can grab it. But the cool thing about rotisserie chicken is I can turn it into 4 meals if I want to. Okay. And I've just given you some ideas here. So for the single ladies who, maybe you're just like, oh, I cook for one, and it just feels like a chore or whatever it may be, just know that with a rotisserie chicken, you can turn that one chicken into 4 different meals very, very easily. Whoops, my video went wonky again. All right, so what you can do. So one idea is literally just your chicken reheated, roasted with either a bagged salad or fresh salad. While the chicken is reheating, you can quickly whip together your salad. Okay, you do that one meal, a breast or a thigh. Then the next day, you could easily make a butter chicken with some cauliflower rice. By taking another quarter of the chicken, you can either buy a butter chicken sauce, use some of the leftovers from my recipe, because it provides lots of recipes, or lots of leftovers. The Spice Works, they have a butter chicken. And so you literally could chop it up, heat up your sauce, chop up your chicken, throw it in, microwave some cauliflower rice if you don't have the time or the patience to fry it. Boom, that's meal number 2. Number 3, you guys have my 10-minute spicy chicken slaw that everybody loves. That literally is a bag of coleslaw, right? No chopping required, rotisserie chicken, and then hot sauce and mayo, essentially, right? Those are the basics. You can whip that together in under 10 minutes, no problem. You've got a third meal. And then you could do like my low carb Waldorf salad, right? Like, again, chopped chicken. I like to put in celery. I like to put in nuts. I like to put in kohlrabi is another nice crunchy one that you can do to keep it low carb. But you can take that one rotisserie chicken and turn it into 4 separate either dinners or lunches or whatever. And there is really not that much prep required. Okay. Are we digging this so far, ladies? Hi, Virginia. All right. Emergency meal number 2. So I want to show you again, this is, you won't be able to necessarily find all of this stuff in your grocery store because I live in Invermere, you live somewhere else, unless you're local. But I want to show you, again, I want you to start thinking about things that you could stock up on that you can have in your freezer or in your fridge that, let's say it's one of those days at work and maybe you would plan to make one of my recipes and you're like, oh, no, can't do it. Then have these backup ones. So I'm going to show you my absolute favorite one, which you can get across Canada. I'm sorry if you're in the US. I don't know if you can find this one. So this is called Plaisir Gastronomique. So it's made in Quebec. And this happens to be chicken confit. So chicken confit is basically just chicken that has been cooked sous vide with fat. And it's delicious. And it's the most tender chicken in the world. And you get two chicken legs. And all you have to do is literally put it in the oven. This is delicious. This happens in my house, I would say at least once a month. Okay, it's delicious. And the beautiful thing, because it's a confit and it's sitting in fat, like it doesn't expire. Like this one here expires and you don't freeze it. It goes in your fridge. Expiry date, June 29th, 2023, because it's sitting in fat. You could also make this yourself and just have a bunch in your fridge at all times. But this is a really, really good one. And it's so easy and it's so delicious. Like it does it way better than any takeout you can ever do. This one, my mom just introduced me to, and this is President's Choice for my Canadian ladies. And then we get it in no frills if you're here. Cedar plank salmon. Cedar plank salmon. You literally just put it in the oven and walk away. Okay. And salmon is great for you. Great source of your omega-3s. So this one here would be a winner. But this is the kind of stuff that I want you to look for where it's, it's still, I mean, this one isn't perfect. It's got a bit of maple syrup and, I'm sure there's preservatives, but again, better over perfect. Okay. So I want you to start thinking about different things like that you can stock up on. So mussels is another one that I'll do with my daughter. Also from No Frills, if you're around here. They just have them in that frozen section, and literally you just dunk the whole bag in boiling water for 5 minutes. Boom, you've got your garlicky mussels. Easy, right? With one of the veggie options that I gave you before. And then, like I said earlier, salt and pepper ribs. That's another one that happens in our house. I would say That one probably happens like every 3 months or so. And then on your side, again, it could be a bagged or fresh salad. It could be roasted veggies. Roasted veggies, ladies, super easy. They require, again, no prep at all, especially if you're buying the vegetables already pre-chopped. Literally, all you have to do is toss them in olive oil, salt and pepper, maybe some of your spice blend, throw them in the oven. You could throw them in with your ribs, with your chicken, with your cedar plank salmon. No prep required. And then you can go on and do whatever other tasks you need to do, right? And then of course, raw veggies and dip. Like if you really had to, they do kind of get boring, but it is, again, it's an emergency backup plan. You can buy those little trays where everything's done for you. Boom, throw that on the table for your kids and be like, there you go. There's your veg. All right. Emergency meal number 3 is eggs, right? Eggs, any way you like them. And that is something that, that we certainly do in our home. When I don't feel like cooking, I will just make eggs for Cindy and I. And so sometimes there'll be like eggs and bacon, you know, like a little bit of avocado, maybe some berries on the side, or I'll do like, I call them greens, which is basically like just literally salad, like the leaves with a little bit of olive oil, a little bit of lemon juice, a little sprinkle of salt, boom. I keep it like no brainer. I do omelets a lot, right? Omelets are so easy. They take 2 seconds. Cook the egg, throw in a bit of cheese, throw in some chopped up deli meat, serve it with a side of salad. Once again, super easy. My favorite one these days, which this is a new recipe, and I'll send it out in the Slow and Steady Club newsletter, but I do grated or zoodled zucchini that I chop up, and then I add 2 eggs, and so I scramble that all up with a little bit of salt. And then I put it in a pan with like a lid on top. And while that's cooking, I get those little packs of smoked salmon that I showed you last week. And I let that thaw, and I'll chop some cucumber and a little bit of onions. And then I have this beautiful zucchini fritter, and then I'll put a little bit of mayo on top. I put my smoked salmon, and then I chop that off with my cucumbers, my onions, a little bit of capers, a little bit of bagel seasoning. It takes me not even 15 minutes to do, and it is so good. It feels very gourmet. All right, so next up, so now that I've given you like just a couple of different emergency meal ideas that really require no prep, these ones are sort of like the simple prep. So these are sort of like emergency meal templates. And so how to cook without a recipe, where you're still kind of thinking about your macros for menopause method, you're still thinking about your protein, your veggies, your healthy fats, right? So I've got 3 ideas here. So stir fries, sheet pans, and curries, right? There are 3 sort of meals where you can get everything in one pot. And anytime I can find a way of putting all of my ingredients in one pot, so I have less dishes, like I'm all about it, right? Because that's going to save time. It's going to motivate you way more than finishing your meal. And now you've got all kinds of dishes to be done. Like, who wants to be doing that? So the first template is basically ground meat, right? And this can be lamb, turkey, beef, pork, chicken, whatever you want, pre-chopped veggies, if you don't feel like chopping your own, some avocado oil, and whatever spice blend you have on hand. You mix it all together, you fry it in a pan. You've got yourself a low carb formula stir fry, okay? You could do that with shrimp. You could do it with tofu, right? Tofu is another pre-cooked protein. I don't necessarily want you eating tofu all the time, but again, it is a great source of protein that happens to require 0 cooking. If you cook it with a bunch of spices, it's, you know, it doesn't taste terrible. It's not my favorite, but I will do it every once in a while. But just so you understand, that could be something that you do. So that would be your stir fry sort of formula is ground meat or shrimp. Like you can even do pre-cooked shrimp that just needs to be heated up, tofu, veggies, avocado oil, and some spices. Okay, you could do that. That would literally take you maybe 25 minutes, maybe, and you could make a big bunch, especially if you're cooking for one and you're okay with leftovers. Okay, if you're going to do a sheet pan recipe, it's still pretty much the same thing, right? It's kind of like chopped up meat, vegetables, avocado oil, a spice blend. You're tossing it all in a big bowl. you're laying it out on your baking sheet with parchment paper, you're shoving it in the oven, and then you're walking away to do whatever else you have to do. Sliced chicken makes it a lot faster than just using chicken thighs or chicken breast, right? And now, again, at the grocery store, most of them do it for you. You can literally buy the chicken that's already been sliced. All you have to do is mix it all together with some oil and some spices, and you've got yourself a healthy meal. Okay, that's so easy. And then for curries, it's pretty easy. It's meat, right? It could be ground, any kind of ground meat. It could be shrimp. It could be small pieces of chicken, whatever you want to do. Vegetables, coconut milk, and a spice blend. Boom, low carb curry. Okay, so super, super simple ideas. And again, just remember that all these pre-made foods, you're going to pay more money for them, but they are still way cheaper than dining out or ordering takeout from Skip the Dishes. And I guarantee that they're going to be doing more good for your body. Okay. So what do we think, ladies? I know a couple of you are still joining me live. Do these tips and tricks feel like strategies that you can add into your toolbox for those busy nights? I know you're always a little bit behind me. Oh, this is frozen. Let's see here. Whoops. Let's see. Okay. I don't know how many of you are still here, but anywho, those are your strategies. So again, they're all going to continue to follow the principles that I'm teaching you that are really going to help your body to burn the fat, right? So Angela said, awesome tips. Thank you. Awesome, Angela. Thank you. So you can still follow the strategies that I teach you to balance your hormones, to optimize your metabolism, even when you do not have the time, ladies. Okay. So I'll be sending out the cheat sheet or posting it inside the Slow and Steady Club. And for our guests, I'll make sure to get it to you too. And I'm going to stop the live feed now. And I will see all of you on Monday for our mindset coaching. And have a fantastic weekend. All right, stop live stream. And we're going to stop recording.